Good morning, gardeners. It's Vicki. I garden in zone 5B and it's so beautiful this morning. I just had to do a video. It rained pretty good this morning and everything is wet and lush, a little bit beat down because of the rain, but that's okay. Just wanted to do a garden tour. All right, so this is the front terrace. I have regular garden sage over here. I'm really loving this. Next year I'm going to plant a lot more of that in the garden. I just really like the texture. I like that it adds green without really adding any flowers or anything. I don't know if this does flower. I imagine it does, but it didn't for me this year. Maybe it will next year. So I'm not sure. The purple salvia is kind of all beat down because of the heavy rain that we had this morning, but I'm excited that it is all reblooming. I had deadheaded most of this in my previous video that I did about the terrace, and I wasn't sure because I bought these salvias at multiple different times, and so I wasn't sure if they were all the same variety. This one here on the end seems to have a bigger leaf and taller stalks, but aside from that, these here in the middle seem to be the same. So I'm really pleased. At least it's the same color, even if it's, you know, a little bit bigger. Or maybe that one's just doing better. I'm not sure. Creeping Jenny, it really struggles during the summer when it gets super hot. Like these two are more established. They look better, but I freaking love Creeping Jenny on the front of my terrace. I'm going to add more as the years go on, but I wish that it would do a little better. Maybe once I have more plant life in there and less bare soil, maybe it will do better. Okay, so next thing I want to show you is a little progress I made on this second terrace. Last time I filmed this was completely full of weeds and grass, and there is still grass in there. I didn't do a perfect job, but I pulled out the majority of it. You can now see the little lavender plant over there, which I want to transplant. I will probably do that in the spring though, because I feel like it's a little late. Plus it's blooming right now and, you know, just let it be. I've got this green kind of creeping, I don't know, sedum or something, some kind of succulent, but it's supposed to trail over the edge eventually and just kind of help fill in and block those weeds in there. I have a peony plant here and a peony plant there. There was supposed to be a peony plant in the middle, but after I cleared out all of the weeds and grass, I realized that either that one died or it just never emerged. I'm not really sure what happened. So I had bought this sand cherry on clearance at Home Depot, and I didn't know where to put it. I've just been kind of holding it in the pot. And then I thought that would be a really nice kind of low growing shrub to put here, and it gets really pretty. Fairly sure they're white flowers. I want to say in the spring, and then it gets like these little berries of some sort, cherries, and I'm sure I'm not going to eat them, but you know, more food for wildlife. So that's something that I'm always trying to do, is add food for the wildlife as well as pollinators and all that. So I've got my fountain grass there. That is, I believe this is its second year. I want to say I bought that last spring. I bought like 9 of them. I was originally planning on lining my whole parking strip here with those fountain grasses. And then I changed my mind because I really needed grass in multiple parts of my yard in different garden beds that I have going on. And so I decided to just use it in that way. I'm still trying to decide what to do with this parking strip. I have a couple of, see how bad it looks. And it just goes on to my neighbors. Anyway, I have a couple of tiger eye sumac, which I don't know where to plant them because they are spreading. They are native to my area, so that's good, but they can be aggressive and I don't want to put them in the wrong place. One of my neighbors, actually my next door neighbor right there, they used to live in my house. They owned my house and fixed it up years ago and then sold it to the people that lived here before me. But Anyway, my neighbor told me that she had tiger eye sumac at the top of this very top terrace up there. So imagine instead of those bushes, what are those, spirea bushes, instead of those she had sumac up there. And she said that it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, but it was spreading and it started pushing the retaining wall out. And you know, they had paid a lot of money to put in this really nice retaining wall, so she had to rip it out. And so I have these two tiger eye sumacs that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with, but I'm thinking that this might be a great spot for them because they're not going to spread into the road or the sidewalk. And I have a really long stretch of grass here, so I think I can certainly keep them confined within, you know, that end and that end. So I'm also going to be doing some sort of like rocks and maybe some brick inlay to just add some more decorative interest and stuff like that. So we'll see. Anyway, back to my garden. We've got the purple veronica that I had cut back in my previous video is starting to bloom again. Not as tall. I don't know if it'll get taller. This is my first year having veronica, so I'm not really an expert on that by any means, but I've got that kind of dotted all over in this bed. And I don't generally like dotting plants in here and there, like grouping them, so I might change that next year, but I was just really trying to fill in spaces this year. My brown-eyed Susans are doing well. Let's see, 2 of the 4 are blooming. There's one more in the back there and one more here that are not blooming yet. I have some daylilies here. These are those wild orange daylilies. Got a little clump of those in this area. That's literally just grass and weeds back there behind it. There is some coreopsis buried in there that needs to either be deadheaded or it's just going to be done for the season. It might just be done. I'm not sure. Ooh, before I forget, I think last time I did this video, we didn't see my Stand By Me clematis. I have 4 of these little bushes that are hidden back in there, but here's one, and isn't that adorable? Bought that on clearance. Pardon the weed behind it, kind of all around it. Next year, these will be a lot bigger, probably about, I'd say 2.5 to 3 feet tall, hopefully. All right, so going back to where I was. Oh, that initial shot that I was showing you when I first started the video, that is my verbascum, also known as mullein plant, the tall yellow spike there. That's just a wild plant. I have had this in my garden once before. It was in my backyard, and I took some of the seed and I purposely spread it in this garden. That was about 2 years ago. And I wasn't sure if it worked, if anything was going to grow, but here you go. I have another one, and this one should self-seed in this garden. So hopefully from now on I'll have that really cool flower. I absolutely love that. Outstanding. All right. Obviously you see all these big ferny, fluffy looking plants with the pretty pink and white flowers. Those are cosmos. They are a flower that got in here back when I did wildflowers, and they self-seed, and they just keep coming back every year. They're really gorgeous. I am gonna eventually take most of them out though, because they just kind of take over the whole bed when they come into bloom and they block out everything else. But right now, because I have a lot of grass and weeds still, it's better than looking at the grass and weeds. But this bottom terrace is actually pretty good as far as the grass and weeds go, with the exception of this section back here, and it kind of runs behind this stand of cosmos, and it goes over to here. I guess that's actually a pretty big section that's not weeded, but the rest of it going this way is all we did. I'm gonna come down here. I don't know what kind of sedum this is, but it's like some of its little flowers turned brown before they bloomed. And some of them are just starting to bloom. I don't know what that is. Water damage? Heat? We had some drought in spring, which was unusual. I've got a little planting of cactus here and some more creeping jenny. I try to plant trailing things over the edge because it just looks pretty, and plus my stone is cracked in a lot of these areas and I need to replace it. I'm sure this isn't even that expensive and I just haven't looked into it. But this is some pink salvia that I bought on clearance recently. This is probably my most recent planting in here, so it doesn't look very good. It's struggling to establish. Sun's coming out now. That's lamb's ear, looking pretty good. I just planted that in the spring, so it's established really well now, and I know that stuff spreads really quickly, so that'll be cool. These little plants right here are Greek oregano. I love these. I will also be planting more of this next year, as well as if there's any other kind of oregano that's in my zone 5B, I will be trying to find some of that. You see that little bee? Can you see it? Let me see if I can. Oh, he's cute. It's not a honeybee, some kind of little teeny bee. This is a sedum that will trail over the edge here and spread. Pink Veronica, looking really good. This one hasn't been cut back yet because it was still blooming pretty, so I just left it. My bergamot, Monarda. This is just the kind of like wild type. It's not super bright, and it does get powdery mildew. If anybody sees this and can answer my question, and let me know in the comments, but do I just cut that down? Do I just leave it? Like, I've read various things that people are like, oh, it doesn't really hurt the plant. You know, it just doesn't look good, basically. And it does seem to have some growth without it, kind of on the bottom and around the edges. I did deadhead it recently. I cut about the top 3 or 4 inches off of a lot of them. There's still some flower buds in the back, but most of all of this in the front and sides I already trimmed back. So hoping it does bloom again, but I wasn't sure if I should just cut it down to the ground and be done with it for the season. I don't want it to spread to my rose bush that's right in front of it. This is a Jacques Cartier David Austin rose. It'll be a pink rose when it blooms. It has not bloomed yet. It's only been in the ground about a month. Got a delphinium that's reblooming there. I bought that earlier. Oh, sorry about that. My boyfriend came out. Anyway, I bought that delphinium earlier in spring. It was on clearance at Walmart, actually, and it looks kind of shabby toward the bottom there, but I wasn't really sure how to trim it back, so I did cut it back some, but not a ton, and it did rebloom for me. This is my yarrow. I really love this plant. I heard that it spreads, and I'm hoping that it does, because I would love to get more of that for free. This little rose is one of the very first things that I planted in this terrace garden, and it has always struggled. It's always been buried in grass and weeds. It has the most amazing rose scent for such a little flower. And the funny thing is, I thought this was white, because it's always looked white, maybe cream colored at best, but it's never looked like that yellow. And I'm finally starting to see red growth here, and along the bottom new red growth, and here. So I think that it's finally getting enough sun, and the weeds are pulled back from it and everything, and it's just finally starting to do better. So I'm happy about this little rose. I have no idea like what brand this is or anything. I bought this on clearance, like probably Walmart a few years ago. I don't even think this was one of the, root ones where you buy them with the roots and a little bit of soil. I think it was just like one of those $4 pots or something, you know. Anyhow, no idea what kind it is, but it smells amazing. So hopefully that turns into a nice little rose bush for me. Another thing I forgot to mention, I have these sprouting up everywhere. And I think they're poppy sprouts. I've had poppy flowers in this garden in the past few years. And yeah, I'm thinking that's what they have to be because they're just all over the place. So I've been pulling out the little grass, but not those, hoping that I'm going to get a ton of poppies here, you know, in the next like month. This is a butterfly bush that I guess I could cut off those dead blooms. Still a few good ones. And there's still a few blue blooms on my, I think it's called butterfly blue delphinium or larkspur. Maybe they're the same thing. Anyway, that is probably the bluest flower that I've ever seen, like the truest blue. It's really nice. And that Stand By Me is in close competition. So I've got more of the orange wild daylily planted here. This grass is like Hamelin, something like that. So when I bought this on clearance, I think it was like $2 per grass maybe. I don't remember honestly, but I bought 7 of them. So I've got 3 planted in a group here. And then I have 1 right behind that log. And then I've got 3 more here. But these ones are starting to get their little, whatever those are called. But I read on the tag that these are going to get to like, I think up to 3 feet or maybe even bigger. And I guess I didn't realize that when I put them there. I was thinking they were going to stay kind of small. So I'm going to end up moving those. And because I am trying to figure out how to decorate my parking strip here, I was thinking maybe putting them in this really long parking strip and on either end of the, what is that stuff? Tiger Eye sumac that I was talking about earlier that I'm going to plant there. All right, this is a lupine. When it finally blooms someday, I'll be excited. Looks like that's what, no, I guess those are just more leaves. I don't know what the blooms look like, guys. I've never seen this bloom. So I don't know what color it is. I don't know what the buds look like, but I'm excited to see what happens. I love that about gardening. I probably saw a bloom when I bought it, but I don't know. Dianthus. I've got some of those just kind of dotted throughout here. I bought a bunch of those too when they were on clearance, and then I ended up not really liking them. I had them as a group and I didn't like them as a group, so then I split them up and just kind of dotted them throughout my little rock garden here. When I say rock garden, I really mean succulent. I've got a lot of succulents here in the front, but I do have some sand. Maybe I'll throw in some big rocks to make it look cooler. Okay, back to my tour. We got, I think this is called Euonymus, something Gaiety. It's really cute. I'm excited for this to spread out more. Back here I have my newest Monarda. This one is going to be Coleraine Red. That's the variant. And this rose bush that I planted in front of it is Lady Shallot, which is also David Austin Rose. I bought those roses from Heirloom Roses, and I think I'm going to probably be buying most of my roses from Heirloom Roses from now on. They're not super cheap, but they're own root roses. They're not grafted. So I know that I'm going to get the true rose that I bought. And I feel like they're going to be hardier in making it through my cold winters. So yeah, I think that's the way I'm going to have to go with roses, because to me they're beautiful. I want them, but like last year I had, I think 7 roses and 3 of them died over winter. So, you know, I need roses that are going to tough it out in my zone. Here is a, what are those called? I just bought this flower recently and I'm still learning the names. Scabiosa. I think they're also called pincushion, those little purple ones. It's very cute. That's going to look cute next to this yellow rose too. I'm excited for him to have more than one bloom. So, the second terrace, not much to talk about really. It is extremely grassy and weedy. So, last year the entire terrace was out of control. This year it's pretty much just that second area, but I'm working on it. I'm making progress, guys. My Russian sage is finally starting to grow. It's been in there. I've been planting Russian sage for 3 years now, and it never would take off. I mean, it was there, it just wouldn't get bigger. And now it's finally starting to shoot up and look like it's establishing these little clumps. So I'm super excited. I bet you next year that's gonna look amazing. And having all of these blues in front of it, that's why I kind of planted a lot of blue in this area. I wanted the Russian sage to be popping up from the back, and then having the delphiniums and larkspur and just a bunch of blue and purple in this area. The butterfly bush, you know, the stand by me's. Up here, this is just a weed, I guess, but I'm thinking that might be goldenrod. Do you see that yellow flower right there? I haven't pulled it because I like that little delicate yellow, and if that's what that type of flower is, if it's goldenrod, I'm gonna let it stay. I need to get goldenrod anyway because it's such an important plant for the pollinators and stuff. So, all right, I still haven't cut out that bushweed, whatever that is. The cosmos are just beautiful. They're just pretty much blocking everything else though. Only other thing to see over there are my pink coneflowers that need to be deadheaded. They're starting to look pretty shabby. And then I got the iris peeking up over the grass back there. There's also a hydrangea. I'll put the type on when I do the editing on this video. I always get the name wrong. I want to say it's Firelight, but I'll make sure I take a look at it. Look, there's a second bloom on that. There's that tall spike, and then there's a second spike. I didn't know that they did that. That's really cool. God, I freaking love that plant. Like, seriously, I could have 20 of them and I'd be thrilled. So we'll see what happens in the future. Those are biennials. So 1 year they're only like, you know, a little bit of leaf at the bottom, I think. And then the next year they send up this huge spike. So last year this would have been buried in my grass and I wouldn't have even seen it because it was completely like coming over the terrace there. That's how bad the grass was. It was like completely overrun. Like, you can see how thick it is right now. Imagine it twice as tall. So I got to get up there. Maybe I'll do that today after this video. It's the hardest terrace to deal with because I don't have, like, when I'm doing this one, I can just throw stuff onto the sidewalk and then clean it up when I'm done. When I'm up here, I can't throw it down, so I would have to put it up onto the next level up there. And it's a deeper terrace from front to back. Like, you can't really tell that, but it is a little bit deeper. Oh, that's another foxtrot grass right there. It kind of gets buried in, I don't know if you can see it, but that will eventually turn into a nice thick grass. And then there's another one right up there, which I also don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of behind the Russian sage up a little bit higher. So I wanted to have nice thick grass punctuated here and there throughout my borders. I just really like that look and the way that it blows in the wind and all that stuff. So that's the goal. Okay. Well, I think that covers it for the terrace garden. Thanks for joining me again on this update. It was just so pretty out. I wanted to do a video real quick. Talk to you next time.